Welcome to today's session of Get the Knack. My name is Sue Steele, and I'll be your host. I joined the National Academy of Construction in 2021. Today, our topic is about making things happen and challenging the status quo. I'm thrilled to have Stuart Harrison here, who is the Executive Director of the Charles Pankow Foundation. And I think we're going to have a very exciting podcast to talk about some of the new things that are happening at the foundation. And so as we get started, let me just give you a quick background. The National Academy has been a leader in promoting and educating our industry about innovation in the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. So today, we're going to dig into how the Charles Pankow Foundation is making a difference in research and development for the AEC industry. And I'm excited that this aligns perfectly with the NAC mission, which is to transform the industry to build a better nation. So today, Stuart will take us through some key abstracts that they've just produced or published. And he is an exciting person that just joined the National Academy of Construction in 2025. Welcome. I'm glad to have you a part of this group, and we're getting you going on podcasts and executive insights even within your first year. So welcome, Stuart.
Thank you, Sue. What an honor and a privilege to join you today.
And we're going to start out with some brief self-introductions as we typically do. And after that, we're going to dig down into some of the exciting things happening at the foundation. So Stuart, tell us about your background. I know you've had a very distinguished career in the military and in the private sector, which sets you up perfectly to be the executive director for the foundation. So give us a little bit about that color of your experience.
Sue, thank you very much. And again, I appreciate the invitation to join you today to discuss both my background, but more importantly, the Charles Pankow Foundation. I grew up in the East Coast. My dad was a steel engineer who sold products for the interstate highway system throughout the country. I graduated from the Fort Union Military Academy here in Virginia and then attended West Point and graduated in 1983, commissioned in the Corps of Engineers. My Army career mainly focused on construction opportunities. In the 80s, it was many security upgrades for different sites around the world. In the 90s, we went through international development in many countries. Probably most of us wouldn't want to take a vacation in, but regardless, it was great experience for an engineer. And then after 9/11, I was pretty much focused on construction in the Middle East. I retired from the Army in 2008 and joined Parsons and then AECOM for my professional career, which focused on construction again, as well as facilities maintenance. Since 2022, I've been the executive director of the Charles Pankow Foundation, and we've been focused on integrating research work and bringing innovation to building, design, and construction.
That's a fantastic background. And we're going to get into some of the details in a minute, but maybe we can start a little bit, Stuart, with adding just a big picture about the foundation, what you think our audience needs to know just to set the stage for explaining some of the really amazing, innovative things you're doing now.
Well, Charles Pankow established this foundation in 2001, kind of had the thought of how do we continue his life's work of innovation in building, design, and construction. And since then, through focused leadership, we've become a catalyst to drive programs for innovation. As a private and independent focus for the construction industry, we provide catalytic funding for research projects that are brought to us through a variety of means. Often I ask the question, if I'm with professionals such as yourself, what's the biggest challenge facing the AEC industry? And Sue, frankly, it's amazing some of the responses we get. What's key to know about the foundation is we're independent, 100% private grant making. We charge no overhead for anything we do. All our work products, any research that's accomplished is available to the industry. We don't do anything proprietary. And more importantly, we don't engage in any commercial activities, and everything is produced for the public domain.
Wow. Well, so you're really a relatively young organization. I mean, there are some other, research and development groups, CII, I think about them, they've been around for maybe 25, 30 years, but you guys have really accelerated things just in the last 5 years. That's tremendous
Well,
accomplishment.
Well, thank you, Sue. And we integrate well with CII. We've co-sponsored projects together along with ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineers, American Institute of Steel Construction, and even the woodworks with the mass timber industry. So we try to go and find partners who are, one, interested in innovation, but two, are facing challenges in order to improve what we do in the AEC industry.
Hmm. Well, that's similar to kNACk. NAC wants to build partnerships. So I think there's a lot of intersections we can explore as we go forward with maybe even a series on the Pankow Foundation. What's new? What's current? We've done a couple podcasts about the Pankow Foundation research and development in the past. Personally, I've done one about design integration and different design manager and integration manager tools that you have. And we spoke with some of the lead investigators. So I know that's something we can look forward to as we go ahead and introduce our audience to what's new at Pankow. So um, there were three projects that you shared with me that had recently been published or are about to be published, and maybe you can give us a little bit of a perspective on that. I'd just like you to go through those three at a high level, and then let's try to go through each one individually. We can just do them one at a time or give an overview and then dig down in each one.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss these. Um, the three kind of bridge the focus areas that we have between structural engineering and environmental transparency, and even more importantly, are really innovative for what they are able to produce. The first one we'll talk about is Fast Floor, which is excelling construction by modular steel floor systems. The second one is what the acronym CURE, which is reducing embodied carbon through updates to building codes. And finally, a project that has been going on for several years and we're nearing conclusion is high performance thermal spandrels, which really bridges the gap in building envelopes and was brought to us by an industry consortium. So let's talk about all three if we can.
That sounds great. That sounds great. I think each one, like you said, the main crux of it is the structural integrity underpinning of each of them with a different focus. So let's start with Fast Floor. One of the things that struck me as I was reading about that at a high level was how much it would reduce or improve schedule and cost on a project while also increasing quality. And it's hard sometimes to get all three. And then you throw safety in, and I'm sure there's a benefit to safety as well.
Well, Fast Floor is a fascinating project. We're in phase 4 right now, and the final phase of what the research work will do, and we're going towards implementation. But Fast Floor is a modular steel floor framing system that allows for commercial building structures to be constructed entirely of steel without any concrete deck plating. Concrete will be used in the project, of course. Concrete is a great substance, but often, especially in high-rise scenarios, it is a limiting factor for construction activities on site.
Mm.
This is directly attributable, the work is directly attributable to the American Institute for Steel Construction, AISC, and their Need for Speed initiative that they developed about 8 years ago. The type of system for achieving that is to reduce both the time from conception to occupancy and also to make sure that we limit the amount of embodied carbon to the degree possible within such a structure. The Flash Floor as a module evolves over the life of the project and will continue analysis of the R-type buildings to predict the expected structural behavior. Our industry advisory panel, mainly composed of steel companies and others, are invaluable in our ability to do this research, make sure that it's done in a fashion that the industry can support, but more importantly, understanding that implementation is next and generating some interest for this type of building, several of which are already under consideration and in development.
Yeah, let's pause there just for a second. I think to understand the intersection of the people that sponsor the research with maybe being actually part of the implementation process. Do you find that happening a lot where somebody will be an underwriter or help co-fund it and then they end up saying, "Hey, we want to trial it or try it on our sites or our projects?"
Sue, that's a superb question, and part of the way that the foundation is organized for our operating model. We normally try to identify, if you will, that topic, whatever it might be, or target for innovation, and then find project champions from the industry, usually people who are experienced, knowledgeable of the need for this innovation or this product, and then let them gather either co-funding partners, subject matter experts, in order to build that industry advisory team. And then part of the approach is find a qualified academic institution who would want to sponsor part of the research, join the co-funding team. And frankly, it's a very, very powerful operating model that we've tried and proven over the last 20 years. So yes, we try to bring in co-funding partners that are one interested in the research, but in the end will benefit from being part of the advisory team and implementing whatever the innovation may be as part of their commercial structure.
Yep. I guess psychologists said when you're participating in something, you're going to own it more than if somebody just tells you, go do this and directs you. So you've got the ownership, as you said, from the sponsors as well as the steel organization you mentioned. I'm just kind of curious. It says fast floor, but how long has this particular project been evolving? I mean, has it been a year, 2 years? I was just wondering how long it's been in the making.
We're in our fourth year of research, and this will be our last, if you will, pure year of research. After this, we'll be doing some modeling and analysis to prove kind of the results. But right now, we're still in the lab. We're doing some actions for fire treatment and fire retardants for the fast floor system and additional vibration research. So I'm very encouraged with the progress we've made to date, and this will be the seminal year for the research for the project.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I'm sure people can stay tuned on your website and other sources to see when it's complete. So anything else on that that you think is unique or that people need to know about that the modular system?
I just have to congratulate Northeastern University and Dr. Jerry Hajar, who is an excellent primary investigator, but also he's brought together a very strong consortium of other universities and co-funders, really as a model program of how to conduct research in a distributed environment. We have Johns Hopkins University doing part of the analysis. We have Virginia Tech, who did a considerable part of the vibration analysis. And I don't want to leave anybody out. I know I will. But again, that consortium has been led by Northeastern University, and kudos to them.
That is fantastic. Well, I don't know what else you could add except that, hopefully there's going to be a lot of fanfare and a lot of seminars, workshops, communication. Hopefully we can do another podcast where we can get some of those primary investigators involved and with you to come back and walk through it in more detail because I'm sure people will want to hear about it.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. But this also dovetails directly into our next topic for SE 2050. SE 2050 is an important initiative for net zero within the structural engineering community. Many firms have signed up for this challenge of getting to a no carbon, low carbon environment by the year 2050. And the challenge is one that the industry has embraced through the ASCE Structural Engineering Institute, and leadership from across the sector of understanding that this is our participation. Our next project we're going to talk about is CURE, which is the carbon reduction in the environment. And it's a program that has incredible support from both environmental organizations, from others in the field. And it's a project that is happening not just in the United States, but also in the United Kingdom, the European Union, and through the Council of Vertical Urbanism is leading some research in China. So it really is a global initiative to look at building codes and quite frankly, reduce the amount of carbon that goes into our built environment. We understand that climate change is one of the biggest challenges that's ever faced by humankind. Reduction in emission of gases is important, but it's also looking at code standards through ASCE 7, ACI 318, and AISC specifications. So we're looking at that, a very good group, distinguished group of researchers from across the country, and they're concluding their research almost as we speak. We hope to publish in June, as well as additional work that may be announced in London in this coming November. So stay tuned as we continue down this road. But reviewing the codes and standards with an eye towards reducing embodied carbon is the critical step. Our next action, follow-on phases, will look at the building codes themselves and promoting a change in those codes. Again, right now we're just identifying. In phase 2, we're going to go ahead and take, no pun intended, concrete action in order to reduce some of the embodied carbon that we see in building codes.
Well, I have to commend you because working across international lines in some of these code related things is not easy. I happen to have been involved in a UK board, and I was chair of the sustainability committee. And there were a lot of different, I would say, expectations, requirements, procedures, policies, laws, not to mention building codes that were different in the UK versus the US. So I think I commend you for trying to do this globally. I'm wondering, just off the top of my head, I mean, the researchers, uh, what's the footprint you have? You mentioned doing something in London. Do you have like EU, UK? Uh, how far is your reach as far as the global experts you're pulling together?
Yeah, great question, because I should have recognized those researchers as we spoke. I talked about the Council of Vertical Urbanism, their work in China, but in the UK and for EU codes, the Euro codes as they're called, we have the University of Bath as the principal investigator, and they're working with their um, national organization, iStructE, the Institute of Structural Engineers. And so that consortium is very powerful that's working. Here in the United States, we have Dr. Abby Lill out of the University of Colorado Boulder, who's leading across the charge across the country with a number of notable researchers. Again, if I try to name them all, I'd miss someone who I don't want to. But really due to Abby and Ian McFarland's leadership from Magnus and Klemenczyk Associates, they've really done well. They've been focused, and I'm looking forward to them publishing the results in the near future.
Well, that'll be fantastic. I was involved in a green city program in Abu Dhabi, and we, you know, tried to apply the most aggressive initiatives on that project to reduce embedded carbon. And it was quite an exciting project. So bringing the international community together around something common, that we can all stack hands on, I think is admirable. Really appreciate what you're doing on that. All right, moving on. Now we move to more commercial, high rise, mid rise buildings. There's an abstract about what you guys have done to really make a step change in the spans, the thermal spandrel design. I know that's something that everyone looks forward to hearing about. So tell us about that project.
Yeah. Thermal spandrels is a fascinating project that came out of a kind of a call for action from the building enclosure industry. Several years ago, one of our directors, Glenn Bell, uh, kind of asked the building enclosure community, what's your biggest challenge? And over time, we found that there's stretch codes being implemented across the country that really require building owners to have a thorough and complete understanding of any thermal loss through their building envelopes. And one area that hadn't been studied, we understand most of the enclosures, doors, windows, the different masonry or wood that may be part of the building facade or system. We didn't understand the components of the building enclosure itself, the window enclosure called the thermal spandrel. And as we investigated, we found several companies that were interested in one, participating in the work, and two, more importantly, benefiting from the research. So I must give a shout out to the private consortium that we have of RDH Building Science, Simpson Gumpertz Hager, SGH, and finally Stantec, the former Morrison Hershfeld. Three companies that might be considered in competition with each other, but have bonded together along with Birch Point Consulting as our industry champion with Tom Culp, as well as Oak Ridge National Laboratory to form a consortium that has been working on testing these thermal spandrel systems for the last 3 years. We have 6 different variants, 6 different types of the thermal spandrel, and each which has about 3 different tests within them. And because of that, we have about 18 variants for these tests. And the last one's going to be done this month in April at Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge has been a wonderful sponsor of this research, and we understand now that other building enclosures want to use this system in order to gain the R value that can be measured from their system that they're operating at the Oak Ridge National Lab.
Wow, that's impressive. Quite an impressive list of sponsors. How do you, this is sort of a random question, but I'd love to hear just how you, as a director in your organization, how do you maintain effective collaboration and coordination among all these players in these various projects? It sounds almost as complicated as building a building project itself. How do you keep up with all this? It's amazing.
So, with most of our research projects, we have either biweekly or monthly, if you will, advisory calls where we have essentially a Zoom call to update everybody on the status. And equally important, every quarter to semi-annual period, we'll have some type of due out, whether it be an interim report, whether it be a research demonstration, that we come together to, one, understand the results, and two, plot the chart ahead. Thermal Spandrels has been a wonderful program led by different researchers for each phase, but we have a biweekly call saying where we're going next, where can we best publish our results, and more importantly, what's being noted. Approximately 2 years ago, we noted there's a need for a new specification, and we went to the American Society of Testing Mechanics, ASTM, and they formed a subcommittee for this work. So I'm very, very encouraged at how our operating model of having an industry champion, private industry support, as well as reaching out to whatever organization that can benefit from the work in order to accomplish either a code change or a specification need or something along the lines that can benefit from the innovation we're looking at. And thermal spandrel has been a wonderful example. These stretch codes are in 6 states, I believe now, and it's giving building owners a better visibility of their thermal envelope and what can be accomplished with this research.
Wow. Well, that really hits back to what we talked about at the beginning is how NAC as well as the Pankow Foundation are trying to transform the industry to build a better nation. I mean, it's pretty much right in line with what you guys are trying to accomplish, and you've got some amazing work here. I guess I'm thinking that as we go forward, how would our audience find out more about these different projects? Do you announce them in a certain way? Do you have certain readouts or presentations that are available? How would our audience keep up with these three in particular?
Sue, that's a very focused question, and one that's probably our biggest challenge as a foundation is dissemination. A
Mm.
lot of good work being done through these research projects. How do you get the word out to the entire AEC industry? As large and diverse as we are, what we try to do is through multimedia presentations.
Mm.
One, obviously through our website, publishing everything we have through the website, www.pankowfoundation.org or CPF. Just by searching CPF, we can usually get to where we need to be. But I also have 3 different channels that we have for social media, from LinkedIn to X, also known as Twitter, and Facebook. What we find even more importantly is getting out to the, if you will, technical conferences where some of this material is best published. We encourage our PIs or other subject matter experts to present at these conferences in order to make sure that the audience understands where the research happened, what occurred, and what are the results? What can they gain from them? Great example right now is performance-based design for fire. We have two researchers who are presenting at several conferences this year just to make sure that we get the information needed to the authorities holding jurisdiction at the state and local levels so they understand that performance-based design for fire is a very good concept and something that can benefit them in their jurisdictions.
Mm.
And of course, another way is through the National Academy of Construction and doing a podcast with you of trying to get the word even further out. So I appreciate the opportunity today to talk about our research and more importantly, look forward to continuing the dissemination through the kNACk and other means as possible.
Well, that's fantastic. We probed some of our members recently, and they said one of the most important things they want to hear about is trends and innovation in the industry. So, having this podcast, albeit a little bit at a high level, summary level, at least it provides three examples of where you're trying to make breakthroughs in the industry to build a better nation. And I'm very excited we did this today. And I believe you were a guest speaker at our annual meeting last October, right? I mean, weren't you one of our? You joined the academy, and then we put you up on the stage the same day.
Which was outstanding. Again, trying to get the information out that we are a unique institution within the AEC industry as the Pankow Foundation. We're looking for your ideas for innovation. And that was the question that I asked the members who were present that day. What is the biggest challenge we face? And if somebody's viewing this and they have a challenge they want to send to me, my email address is exter@pankowfoundation.org. You can contact me on our website, but we're looking for those ideas that I can bring to our board of directors, to I can bring to the industry and saying, is this something we want to research as a group? And I gain more insight every time that I have somebody, well, maybe I've never spoken to before, but they say, hey, we really need to look at this. And before I know it, it's another research project for us to implement. And that's part of the joy of my job as a executive director of the foundation.
Well, that's great. Well, appreciate all this information. Is there anything else you want to add, or are we good? Something else you want to share? I know you gave the information about how to get in touch and how to be more engaged. Any other thoughts before we close?
Well, let me just pass to you my deep appreciation for the National Academy of Construction and the efforts to improve the AEC industry. I was surprised to be nominated and, more importantly, to join the kNACk, but equally so, it's a challenge for me to continue our work in terms of developing better ways to build and design for the community. And I look forward to contributing to the National Academy for the remainder of my professional career. Thank you for the opportunity.
We're happy to have you. And with that, I'm just going to wrap up the session. And, I think about what I'm taking away from this is that I'm excited that we have the Charles Pankow Foundation because it gives me hope that we are staying on top of some of the biggest challenges we face in the AEC industry, and that we've got experts like Stuart and his array of supporters and partners that are working hard to make these breakthroughs, because if they were easy to do, we would have already done them. And so the tenacity and the courage and the discipline to really dig into these is admirable. And I'll look forward to having him back with some of these research teams. I will say this as we close too. The Pankow Foundation, Stuart, has always been an active partner with NIC. We've had many of your members as guests on past podcasts, but now that you're a part of the group, I'm looking forward to updating them and giving them all this refreshed information, what's going on, and I'll date us in 2026. And I know we'll have more coming up as we go forward. So thank you for your time. Appreciate your insights. And I'm really happy we had this podcast today with Stuart Harrison, who's the executive director for the Charles Pankow Foundation. Please share your comments as well with us at Get the kNACk at NAOC and let us know of any topics that you would be interested in us pursuing as part of this podcast series. To get more information on today's topic or other insights from the National Academy, please go to our NAC webpage, which is naocon.org/insights. And Get the kNACk will be back soon with more content. Have a safe day.